So then we get to the brain, right? And the brain is a complex biochemical machine that is specialized for signal transduction via neurotransmission. All of its critical functions, including our experience of conscious awareness, are mediated by this neuronal communications network. And neurotransmitters, as you know, are small molecules that mediate the crosstalk between the neurons. And here's just a schematic model of a neuron, and usually the neurotransmitters are released from the presynaptic membrane, cross this gap, and bind to one or more receptors on the receiving membrane, the postsynaptic membrane, and from that, things happen, or don't happen sometimes, because some of these things are antagonists. But usually there's an activation of some further intracellular signal transduction process. And most psychoactive drugs function by affecting these processes: the synthesis or the storage, the release, the degradation, or the reuptake of neurotransmitters, or by mimicking or blocking the effects of neurotransmitters in synaptic receptors, like a lot of our favorite psychedelics, like DMT, for example. So we're biochemical engines made of drugs. This is the thing. Get over it. We are made of drugs. I'm sorry to tell the Partnership for Drug-Free America, but that's the fact of it. We're biochemical engines that run on drugs, hormones, enzymes, neurotransmitters, and so on. Those are drugs. Brain neurotransmitters and plant messenger molecules evolved from the same evolutionary precursors, and they probably served similar functions. These messenger molecules were internalized for signaling functions before they had ecosystem-wide effects. So it's not surprising that plants contain a panoply of neurotransmitter-like molecules that can act on brain receptors. How am I doing for time? Who's keeping time?
About
7 minutes?
10 minutes.
Oh,
Plus.
no problem. Okay, so essential amino acids, which essential because we don't make them, but there are other, these are the main ones, phenylalanine, tyrosine, and of course our favorite tryptophan. We don't make these, we have to get the precursors to them from our diet, i.e. from plants, and or animals that have eaten plants. So these amino acids are the main neurotransmitters, amino acids that come from them are the main neurotransmitters that are involved in what we think of as conscious functions. You get from phenylalanine, you get tyramine, dopamine, epinephrine, and so on, other neurotransmitter-like compounds. And from tryptophan, you get tryptamine and serotonin, melatonin, 6-methoxy-tetrahydrobeta-carboline, and many other cool molecules. In fact, tryptophan spawns really, once it's converted to tryptamine here by this decarboxylation process that they have been discussing, then tryptamine essentially spawns a whole family of more or less psychoactive compounds. You can think of it that way, through simple processes such as methylation that gives you DMT, kind of the primal psychoactive tryptamine, but then some of the relatives like bufotenine, if you hydroxylate it here, or psilocin, if you hydroxylate it in that position. So these are all pretty widespread enzymes in cellular metabolism that are able to do this. And it doesn't only happen in the brain, it happens in many, many, many organisms. In fact, it's not an exaggeration to say that nature is drenched in DMT. It is a very, very common compound in fungi. DMT or its relatives, right, is a very common compound in fungi, animals, amphibians, and so on. Here's just an example of some higher plants that contain DMT. The numbers here of interest are those in parentheses. These are the number of species. These are genera here. There are many, many species, and probably something like acacia, 1,200 species, probably 75% of that number contain some form of tryptamine. They're very, very common. And this is only part of the list. So DMT is everywhere. It's not an exaggeration to say that. What else do we know about DMT? It's the most mind-shattering psychedelic so far encountered by humans. Very simple metabolite of tryptophan. It's found in mammalian physiology. It's not orally active. So that's interesting because you can forage on DMT-containing plants all day and nothing will happen unless you have to happen to combine it with an MAO inhibitor. Suddenly the mystery is revealed, right? Or you consume something like psilocybin, which is already pre-programmed for human consumption. As my brother used to say, made for man, right? No technology and no effort is involved other than simply bending over and picking the mushroom and consuming it. But sooner or later, humans are clever. They discovered the tryptamines in these other plants and how to activate them. So what I'm arguing here is that DMT and psilocybin are essentially catalysts for cognitive evolution. They're not extraterrestrial. They come from Gaia. We're the aliens. We're the least integrated into the natural world of any species on Earth. We're separated. These messenger molecules are trying to send us the message, you guys have gone off track, you have to rethink it. So, we have these set of receptors sensitive to DMT and these other tryptamines. They appear to open worlds to an unseen universe, teeming with non-human life and intelligence. What's the message? Earth to monkeys, wake up. DMT is a messenger molecule, but it's a message from an intelligent and compassionate biosphere, Gaia, if you will, to its most problematic species. Indigenous peoples think of these things as plant teachers. What do plant teachers teach us? First of all, symbiosis. They teach an appreciation of the interconnectedness and interdependent nature of all living things. And they teach us that we're part of this web of relationships, not separate from it. They teach us biophilia, love for life, an inherent human tendency to love living things, including each other, some of the time, hopefully more of the time. Animism, they give you an insight that really at some level everything is alive, everything is intelligent. Pantheism, the universe itself is divine. There is no separate divinity. The universe itself is waking up to itself. That's where the divinity lies. Informed by the psychedelic experience, these are not suppositions of the indigenous worldview. These are direct perceptions of the nature of reality. They are simply self-evident. And they're built into most indigenous worldviews and actually very close to the current sort of scientific understanding of the way that these systems work. What else do they teach us? That we learn new ways of thinking and perceiving. They stimulate wonder and awe. They stimulate ideation and curiosity. The experiences are usually beautiful. They stimulate our aesthetic sensibilities. They open the door to the universe within, a seemingly vast, dark continent populated with strange entities. They enable the experience of a transcendent aspect of reality, apparently not part of this continuum, possibly even beyond death. Does this have evolutionary consequences? We would hope so. Curious, imaginative, model-building primates are both the best and the worst thing that's ever happened to life on Earth. The stately pace of biological evolution no longer applies. The fate of life on Earth is in our hands. We can and do build technologies that can wipe out life on Earth. We can and will build technologies that will enable life to escape from Earth. We can and may build technologies that will enable life on Earth to flourish for billions of years. What we still lack, and what psychedelics are still teaching us, is the wisdom to make those choices. We are very, very clever in the technologies that we have created. We are not very wise. And the question becomes, how can we find the wisdom to use those inventions? Well, what does our mother want? What does Gaia want? Life likes to grow, it proliferates, it likes to spread. Life nourishes and nurtures. Life likes to expand into every conceivable niche. Even though life originated on Earth, there is no reason for it to remain confined to Earth. Given life's fundamental impulse to colonize new territories, given the opportunity to expand beyond Earth, there's every reason to think that it would. We, curious, clever, imaginative, and psychedelically informed primates, as problematic as we are life's best chance to escape from this earthly cradle and spread throughout the galaxy. This is our destiny, and it's life's destiny. In fulfilling it, we apply the lessons of 500,000 years of symbiosis with the plant teachers. Teachers that have been moving us in this direction all along. In fulfilling it, we will transform all of life on Earth and ourselves most of all. We may be human now, but once we leave the nest, we will be more than human. We will discover what we have always been. Infinite, unbounded, and immortal.